Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
Welcome. This is your host, Gail Nowak, and we're here today speaking with Kerry Walls about how to find and hire an effective coach for you. Kerry is an experienced business coach and the CEO of Coaching Collaborative, where she helps executives, consultants, business owners, and business partners create breakthrough results in their businesses and careers, much like she has done in her own career in business. Kerry has assisted multiple businesses sustain double-digit sales growth while creating a platform for growth for the next level of her business. Her unique background in education, small business leadership, and counseling psychology enables Kerry to coach high potential and high performing leaders who are committed to individual and business success and fulfillment. Welcome, Kerry.
Hi, Gail. It's great to be here.
It's great to have you. So why don't you start off by telling us about Coaching Collaborative and your focus, who you're helping, and how you're helping them.
Okay. I tend to work with business owners and executives, so they're kind of in two buckets, but I always say my purpose is to increase people's success and fulfillment in their work and businesses and careers, or another way I say it is to end suffering in the workplace. And there's can be a lot of suffering in the workplace. So often it's with a small business who's done really well, but now it's trying to take it to the next level out of mom and pop. So they're hiring and they're trying to replicate themselves. So it's not just dependent on them. Often people learn a lot as they grow and develop, but they have trouble translating that to employees and how they hire and choosing those people and developing them. I also work with a lot of partnerships, maybe where they skipped the premarital counseling before they became partners, and there might be some misalignment or communication breakdowns that I help people through so that they can get aligned and really grow the business. And then sometimes just when people have a blow to their career, like a demotion, or even if they got fired, or even if there's a highly politically charged situation and they're having trouble navigating that and being a leader in the face of that, which is also quite common in bigger companies as well.
Excellent, excellent. So you mentioned a few challenges that your clients are experiencing, such as the communication breakdowns, a blow to a career. What would you say is one of either the biggest problems or the most common problems that you help your clients with?
Sure. Often people go into business because they're good at their discipline or what they do. Like they're a great writer, or they're a good chiropractor or masseuse or fabricator or engineer, whatever it is, they're good at the thing they do. And then they try to run the business around the edges. And that usually means working on weekends or sales and marketing when they think of it, or looking at the P&L twice a year. So you really have to learn to the business part of running a business, which is critically important, and not get all kind of taken up in the revenue, the things that produce the revenue. That's important. But do you have a business plan? And I'm not talking something super complicated, but even like a map of where you're going and some of that. And do you step back and work on the business and not in the business? So that is super common challenge. And often people have, maybe as they grow, they're not very organized about some of their systems and processes, like, and how do they train people? And they tend to do things that they have to work hard and just keep repeating conversations. So I help them capture some of that information. So they actually have a strategy about how they train and develop somebody. So it helps them retain that employee. And also it's a fulfilling experience for the employee. And it's so much time and investment to train somebody. so that they stay and they really then start contributing to the business.
Yeah, I like that you brought up the systems and the processes piece of running a business, because I think it can be very easy to get drawn into the thing that we do the best, and also into some of the more exciting aspects of business, like marketing and sales for some people,
Right.
and so like documenting the systems and the processes, while that's hugely valuable, it's not super sexy.
Yeah.
and falls by the wayside, but it sounds like it's really worth the investment to do
Right.
that up front, so that you can scale, right? Like, is that
Right.
a big piece of being able to grow your business?
Absolutely. And what happens is people grow their business over time. Like, I'm working with somebody who has a highly profitable suite website that's pretty much just sells product when they go to Amazon or something. And he's developed it over time, and he's really a great writer. But how to hire other people to produce some of the things he does, he forgets how much he learned to do it over time. And then often they can get frustrated, like, why aren't you quicker at picking this up? So people
that sounds
hire
familiar.
people, and then they're not satisfied with what they're doing, and then they hand it off, but then they take it all back. And so they can become very resigned and frustrated and actually be about to throw in the towel, when it really is just learning to develop people and also get the gold out of them, because we just don't notice the gold inside of us. It's kind of assumed, and we don't realize we learned it over 5 years or over a decade or more, and kind of have expectations of employees, like, why aren't they picking it up faster? But there's ways to design it so you can develop them and keep, and every employee is different. So you have a training program, but then you also have to adjust to their learning styles and how to have it be effective.
Right. Yeah. I would imagine that it's going through a little bit of this right now in my business, where I have some team coming in that I've worked with in the past. Through other, at other positions in other companies. And I specifically selected them because there was already that rapport and understanding.
Yeah.
And of how they work and what's effective, and, the strong communication there. And I think that does make things easier, because it is quite a different experience to sort of have it in your head and do it on your own. But you do get to that point where it's limiting.
Right.
There's only so much you can do, but then transitioning what's in your brain out into the world so that somebody else can help you, that can be really challenging. So what are some of the outcomes that your clients experience when you help them learn how to develop people to support the growth of their businesses?
Right. It does put a natural lid on the income you can produce if you can't get over that hurdle. You may have an assistant or something like that, but actually to replicate some of what you do, that's often people don't realize how it limits your growth, because it's the next phase is to learn to produce results through others, so that you're almost, I tell my clients, every conversation they're having, they should have someone side by side with them produce, being trained as well as they're delivering. So we just get so stuck in delivering to the clients or serving the clients. You have to be training all the time as well. Remind me what your question was. I forgot. Sorry.
Well, when you're working with executives or business owners, and they're open to that process, and they are training,
right,
always training somebody.
Yes.
What happens? What changes for them?
Right. I think one of the biggest things I notice is they don't realize it sounds a little weird, how brilliant they are and what they've done. I have somebody in the financial industry who I'm so impressed with. She is so committed to her clients and their financial results. It's not the content of financial planning or whatever. There is content to financial planning. That's part of it. But where she is and how she orients herself and where she's coming from when she listens to clients, that's a whole nother thing. And then if you think about financial planning, it's almost like being a therapist in some way. You're not going into that, but you have marriage issues and dynamics. You have parenting codependency of their children. You have people who are in denial. So you're also navigating all those kind of emotional things as well. And how do you do that effectively while you're standing for those results? I don't think this person was aware that she was doing all that all at the same time because she has a certain mastery. Mm-hmm. So how do you kind of get that out of her? Because mostly people think, oh, they're learning. I just have to get this content. Content is like 10% of what she's doing, maybe. Much of it is communication, how to get people to hear what she's saying, how to not give up when people, maybe they have a plan and they come back in a few months and they've done something different, how not to make them wrong or judge them or blame them. Like, why didn't you do our plan? But stay in relationship with them. And so it's way more complicated than we think to train people to do what we do. And the more you own who you are, where you're coming from, and can articulate it, that's part of what I do in coaching. I feel like it's extricating it out of them because we often kind of compare ourselves to our competition. I remember some architects I worked with, and they just thought, okay, so what does the market architect charge? That's what we should charge. But they had they were experts in restaurant design and marketing along with being an architect. And once they started to own that and be able to articulate that when they're meeting with a potential client, then they could change their prices because the client's getting way more value than just any architect. Right. So that's the kind of thing. It helps increase their value, increase their pricing perhaps, and also train others to kind of look where they look so that they can do what they do.
And this is what I love about business coaches, because it's so hard sometimes. It's so challenging sometimes to look outside of, be outside of yourself to see that value, to make that connection. And I really want to dive into the value of business coaching with the right coach, right? Mm-hmm. With an effective coach, because there's a lot of coaches out there. And I feel like that this is such a great segue of leading towards that, a great coach is somebody who can help you connect some of the dots that you might not be able to connect on your own. So can we talk about that a little bit? Sure. Let's start off with what are just some of the common myths about hiring a business coach in the first place?
It varies. The coaching field has exploded over definitely last decade. And I've been a coach for 20 years. So really have a sense, people didn't even know what it was 20 years ago. And so there's just a wide variety out there, and there are life coaches and health coaches and business coaches, and it's all different. Even though maybe two people say they're a business coach, that doesn't even mean they do the same thing. Right. So it would be hard to sort out. So I think, and I have both the Master of Counseling Psychology, so I both have business experience and some of that counseling psych background, which I find very useful. But you just want to see, are they promising an ROI? Are they customizing to you? And do they listen? Do you feel like it's helpful? So mostly people are pretty smart. Business owners are smart, innovative, creative, but they tend to start, especially at that business growth place I'm talking about, they tend to start just working harder, more, faster. And there's an end to that. You either burn out or get exhausted or lose your patience, or, you just can't keep doing that. So hopefully a business coach is going to point out some different actions to take and a different way to come at a situation that you haven't thought of before, because it's in your blind spot. It's out of your awareness. You don't see to do it that way. So that's partly how a business coach should help. But I think there can be kind of out there in the community that, okay, so are coaches effective? Do they really help, or is it just a trendy thing to do?
Right. Right. And I think that, like you were saying, there are a lot of coaches out there, and it can be hard to find the right one,
right,
for your business, for yourself, for your vision for the future. So, what are some of the things that are important to consider or look for in a coach in order to avoid hiring an effective one and wasting time and money and effort and energy in that process?
That's a great question. I recently wrote something on Medium I can send to you. You can put in the show notes if you do that. But just questions to ask a coach to really assess. I think they should have a track record in what they're talking about. So if they're going to help you in sales, they have a track record in sales, and they've done it themselves and they've helped clients do it. So it's a both and. Mm-hmm. I don't think ICF certification is that big a deal, except within the coaching industry, it seems to have some weight. I've never had anyone ask me if I have it. But it's really, what kind of results are they promising? A result? Do they say it's going to be an ROI for your business? I think a critical piece is, are they listening to you? And is it customized to you? Do you feel heard? We've all been sold to badly, and can think of times where you feel manipulated or coerced, or you want to make sure they hold you as the expert in your business, because you are. I work across different industries, so I don't even pretend to know the content of some of what people are doing. I really respect them and their expertise in that. Mm-hmm. And so you want to feel respected, like what you're doing, and the coach is there as your colleague and a mentor to really help you develop new practices, help you be more effective, and not stop doing so much, but be more strategic and more interpersonal as you develop people in your company. What else? I just think I counted up how many coaches I've had over my career, and it's a lot. I've had bad coaches, great coaches, in between coaches, and they're kind of different categories of coaches. I think there are a lot of formulaic coaches out there, like they're going to put you through their formula. I don't particularly care for that, because I don't think different formulas necessarily work. I have a lot of different models I use, and as I listen to a client, I pull out whatever I think will help them in that situation, kind of to open up the situation better. So I think it's most important is the coach listening. Are they listening more than they're talking? Because they don't know you, and they don't know anything about you or your business. So they better listen first. Like, what are your challenges? Where are you trying to get to? What might be getting in your way? And if you feel in any way judged or criticized, I'd run for the door, because you're learning and you've developed a great business, and now you're just ready for the next lane. So there's nothing wrong. And this can happen with therapists too. They can be kind of like from on high, as like, I know what you should do. So I don't give people advice. I think that's a myth of coaching. Like, you'd be giving lots of advice, but it's really pointing out the situation. What are some potential consequences? So the client chooses. You're not telling them what to do by any means. So do your styles fit? Do you feel better, even if it's a enrollment or sales conversation? Do you feel better when you hang up the phone? Like, you see a different way to come at something. You feel like there's a new approach you didn't see before. That's what coaching should do. New actions, because action's the source of result. So, and you've probably, before you pick up the phone and try to talk to a coach, you probably tried everything you know how to do to get to the next lane. So you want to see some new actions you haven't thought of, a new approach that didn't occur to you, and feel some relief and feel like there's hope. So
I love that. I love sort of leaning into the how does this feel? How does this interaction feel? And trusting that.
Right.
Trusting that. Instead of sort of going kicking and screaming like, well, I know I need a coach, so
right.
I guess I'll coach with this person.
Yeah.
I think,
go ahead.
I just wanted to say, I think that I can see the parallel with, your psychology, your counseling background too, because it's kind of the same thing, right? Like, you have to find someone who can reflect your value back to you, and who's supporting you, maybe not necessarily coddling you, but supporting you, right?
Right. Yeah. And it's not like you're being a cheerleader, because that can be kind of a style of a certain coach, and that's pretty expensive, cheerleading. But you can also, lots of times people want accountability, but then there are coaches who that's kind of all they do. It's like, did you do what you say you're going to do? You didn't. Bad on you. kind of pound on you. But I've been the recipient of that kind of coaching, and it's awful.
Yeah.
It's more like, okay, so what got in your way? How do we remove this obstacle? What stopped you? Because I always talk about an accomplishment in business. An accomplishment is a well-met series of breakdowns. You're just running into breakdowns, and then how do you meet it well? So what stopped you? How do you remove that obstacle? How do you keep going? And that's what's most important. So you're learning to deal with that kind of situation into the future. So you're empowered and not dependent also on the coach.
Right.
But, that's really important as well.
Right. So you've had an interesting journey, and you have an interesting background. So what inspired you to become a coach?
Good question. I don't know if I have two 20-something daughters, and I told one of them, she was like, I don't know how you figure this out. And I said, your career, when you're moving into it, it doesn't go on a straight line.
Right.
You look back and you can kind of see the theme and the thread. So I think people have a life mission or a purpose, and I can see back from my first job, I was a junior high church counselor that was really fun. And then I was a high school English teacher. And just over time, it was all service oriented, and I liked mentoring people and developing people. And so then I had a small business and then got coaching. So I received coaching, and then I was hired by that coaching firm and moved up from being an individual contributor to the CEO over time. And then recently went out on my own. So I love the combination of small business. I love small business. I just think it's the best thing ever. And I love sales, and I love helping people both own their value and their power and solve problems and have it be results in the business as well. I don't know. There's something about the combination of those things. And business results all are based on the strength of the relationship you have with others, have it be customers, employees. Can you build strong relationships? Because the stronger the relationships and the communication, that's how business produces results. You're coordinating action, you're communicating, you're working together. So that's always the foundation. And if the relationship is strong, then everything else goes well with that. So that's what I like about that combination of the personal, the interpersonal, and the business.
Yeah, and that totally makes sense to me. I that resonates with me quite a bit. It's sort of that moving from inner to outer, where you're owning your own individual value and power. You're bringing that out into the world and sharing that with coworkers and team and clients, and then the payoff is the results, right? Like it's the manifestation of all of that coming together, and it is exciting. Yeah. I don't know, maybe we're both a couple of geeks, but I love to see that happen too.
Yeah. Well, it's inner and outer is really interesting because say a business owner is trying to take it to the next level, their business to the next level. There are outer things in the business you have to do, like hiring, training, developing people, having regular meetings with those you supervise, etc. And it's an internal thing. You have to let go of stuff. You have to not do it all yourself. You have to develop some way to, sometimes people go one extreme or the other, like they hold on to doing too much or they let it all go too much. It's something in between where you have a sense or you can keep a pulse on it. Is the business still delivering what you want it to do? Is it still within your values? Is it still up to the quality that you want? So you don't let go so much, because that's where people, they let go so much and then, it's not going according to how I think it should, grab it back and kind of justify like, see, nobody else can do it. I can't trust anybody, that. So it really is an inner game as well. Because you'll take different actions, the bigger the business grows. It's really like learning to produce results through others. Like your ego could be tied to you being the one with all the answers. So as long as you're the one with all the answers, there's going to be a lid on the income and the growth of the business because you can only answer so many questions a day, right? So it's internal development in your leadership and developing some of those values and contexts and be able to say them out loud. That's one of the things I often work with people. What are your values? And it doesn't have to be complicated. What's your mission? Why are you in business? But if you can articulate those, then people can come from those values and you hire people who are aligned with those values. It's going to go better.
So what positive shifts have you experienced in the coaching industry or even the world at large as a result of the work that you're doing with your clients?
Well, I think that coaching industry, it's become more accepted. So, I think that's a good thing. There is a wide variety, like we were saying as well. But I think clients learning to articulate their values helps them deliver on those values more. Like that person in the financial industry, she wants to serve the middle class and contribute to the industry, especially around developing women in the industry. And she wants to develop people's careers. I don't think, before we started working, that was in her. She didn't know she was committed to that. So the more she can articulate that can get out on paper, then she can act from there. She'll get farther as far as creating that and also inspiring others and having other people aligned with that. And then there's also just the results. I had a partnership that I was called in to help them get more aligned. And this one of the partners called me one day because something was going south with a customer who was screaming and yelling at them and swearing. And she got, 5 minutes of coaching. She went back in and she turned the situation around. She used the same things we were learning in the partnership with this customer and turned around a $2 million plus customer.
Wow.
So that's where I say, okay, coaching paid for itself. Check. That's what I like to see.
Right.
So those kind of results, but it's customized to the person. What do you want? And then we go and work on those results to see how you can get there. I mean, coaching, the definition of coaching really is to improve your performance, but it's to improve your performance in any domain of activity you want, specific to your business.
So before we wrap up, is there anything that people should know that we haven't yet covered?
It's worth checking out coaching and talking to coaches. I mean, I have people send me things like 5 to 7 times a day on LinkedIn about increasing blah, 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 your business and getting more leads and all this stuff. And a lot of it I ignore. And then every so often I talk with somebody so I can keep a pulse on what am I doing and is it the best way to approach it? And I've worked with people from doing that. So it's always worth a conversation. And I've had somebody talk to me and then call back 3 months later when the hole is bigger and then start coaching. So it's the thing I notice about human beings, and this is all of us, we're pretty independent and like to do things ourselves. So asking for help can be difficult, but we wait too long before we ask for help. So when I'm assessing an opportunity, if I want to work with somebody, I just kind of I pay attention to the relationship. Do I feel like they're listening? Can I see the ROI in it? For me, investing that from my business perspective, and will it get a return? And is that worth it to me? So that's always important to consider.
So Kerry, how can someone find out more about you and Coaching Collaborative?
Sure. My website is coachingcollaborative.com and my email is Kerry@coachingcollaborative.com as well. And I'll send you a couple free gifts you can share, both on how to recover from your sales allergy is one of them. And another one is how to recover from a blow to your career. Just some steps or ways to look at it to approach that.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for sharing your insights with us today, Kerry. It's been such a treat to talk to you.
Yeah, it's been great to talk to you. I appreciate it, Gail.
Until next time, remember, be your best story and share your positive news now.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.